English in your English only modes. The floor will get both everything at the same time. On your headsets, it should be 00 floor, 01 should be English, and 02 should be Russian on your headsets. So again, just doing a couple last minute checks, making sure everything is going through as it should. Thank you.
Кремлевский пул, у вас все хорошо, все нормально? Камеры, покажите, пожалуйста, большой палец, что все нормально. Все, спасибо большое.
Cell phones. Barely hanging in there.
Well, that's part of the problem. That is also all the live use. Also, Secret Service, they don't want anything. They can just zip us.
But they were going to give us hard lines. They told us. Huh? Like,
I mean, a flip phone. None of these three. It's like running a train station blind.
I already read all of them.
Volvo. Volvo. It's a 3G, 4G phone.
Oh, yeah.
It'll work better.
Yeah.
You don't have the adapter.
Can't break it now.
Oh,
I'm Bluetoothing into my thing, but thanks.
yours. I usually do a USB-C hardwire.
Does that work on USB-C?
Mm-hmm. So do the new cell phones.
Yeah. I do have that cable. I just in the middle of it now.
Yeah. It's fine. The flip phones are a little, they're older, but they don't take as much bandwidth. No.
Watch your back, mister. Sorry.
Losing fight.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform. Describe what you want, and watch it take shape. You can plan, customize, and expand in any direction. From tools built for one, to platforms ready for many. From passion projects to enterprise-grade systems. Everything is built in and ready to launch. It's a new world of creation, where you can go as far as your imagination takes you. Can you imagine it? Let's make your dream a reality, right now.
Yes, I can hear you. How is my signal? Okay, great. Yes, I am back. Still about 15 minutes ago, Americans and Russians ushered in a peaceful conference on either side of the aisle. Separated before the ahead of us with perfumed peace written in letters above the two lessons. The senior staff of both Russians and Americans filtered in to sitting in the front row. So we're waiting for some sort of notification that Expo might begin. There's a sense of surprise because we're waiting to hear that the three-on-three meetings initially a larger lunch for the staff and representatives here, and that didn't happen. Decided the Fair Force decided to come out and do this press conference now. So we think that was
Under this left item? I don't see it. For at 5, go straight back. So somewhere in that section. Right up close to me. On me for a minute. None of us are skinny enough to crawl under this. That's where the blue cable goes to.
Sorry, repeat that. Oh, that wasn't.
Is that Photonic? Photonic? Yeah.
Okay, well then.
I mean, I'll Gumby, but not that far.
Rachel Ross. Yeah, the other Wi-Fi. The other Wi-Fi is totally dead. Is it working?
How's this audio now? How's this audio with Kelly now? I need to go closer to her.
Back in there, sir. Oh, the headset just came in. Caroline, what? She may have to give up on this. Okay. Let's see the live.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States of America and the President of the Russian Federation.
Ladies and gentlemen, our negotiations have been held in a constructive atmosphere of mutual respect. We have very thorough negotiations that were quite useful. I would like to thank once again my American counterpart for the proposal to travel out here to Alaska. It only makes sense that we've met here because our countries though separated by the oceans, are close neighbors. So when we've met, when I came out of the plane and I've said, "Good afternoon, dear neighbor. Very good to see you. In good health and to see you alive." I think that is very neighborly. And I think that's some kind words that we can say to each other. We're separated by the Strait of Bering, though there are 2 islands only between the Russian island and the US island. They're only 4 kilometers apart. We're close neighbors, and it's a fact. It's also important that Alaska has to do with our common heritage, common history between Russia and the
Так здесь и по сей день сохраняется огромное культурное наследие эпохи Русской Америки. Православные храмы, множество, более 700 географических названий, имеющих русское происхождение. В ходе Второй мировой войны именно на Аляске начиналась легендарная авиамагистраль для поставок боевых самолетов и другой техники по договору Ленд-Лиза. Это был опасный, сложный маршрут над громадными ледяными пространствами, но летчики и специалисты 2 стран делали все, чтобы приблизить победу, рисковали, отдавали свои жизни для общей победы. Вот я сейчас только что был в городе Магадане в России, там памятник стоит российским и американским летчикам, и флаг на памятнике российский и американский. Я знаю, что и здесь тоже есть такой же памятник. На военном кладбище всего в нескольких километрах отсюда захоронены советские пилоты, погибшие при выполнении той героической миссии. Признательные американским властям и гражданам за бережное отношение к их памяти. Это выглядит достойно и благородно. Мы всегда будем помнить другие исторические примеры, когда наши страны вместе громили общих врагов в духе боевого товарищества и союзничества, оказывали друг другу помощь и поддержку. Это наследие, уверен, будет нам помогать восстанавливать, выстраивать взаимовыгодные, равноправные связи уже на новом этапе, даже в самых непростых условиях. Как известно, российско-американские встречи в верхах не проводились более 4 лет. Это большой срок. Минувший период был очень непростым для двухсторонних отношений. И, скажем прямо, они скатились до самой низкой точки со времен Холодной войны. И это не идет на пользу ни нашим странам, да, и миру в целом. Очевидно, что рано или поздно нужно было выправлять ситуацию, переходить от конфронтации к диалогу. И в этом плане личная встреча глав 2 государств реально назрела, конечно, с условием серьезной и кропотливой подготовки. И такая работа в целом была проделана. У нас с президентом Трампом установились очень хорошие прямые контакты. Мы неоднократно и откровенно разговаривали по телефону. К нам, как известно, в Россию несколько раз приезжал спецпредставитель президента.
The Ukrainian nation, and I've said it multiple times, a brotherly nation, however strange it may sound in these conditions. We have the same roots, and everything that's happening is a tragedy for us, a terrible wound. Therefore, the country is sincerely interested in putting an end to it. At the same time, we're convinced that in order to make the settlement lasting and long-term, we need to eliminate all the primary roots, the primary causes of that conflict. And we've said it multiple times, to consider all legitimate concerns of Russia and to reinstate a just balance of security in Europe and in the world on the whole. And I agree with President Trump, as he has said today, that naturally the security
Украины.
of Ukraine should be ensured
Конечно,
as well.
мы готовы над
Naturally,
этим
we are
работать.
prepared to work
Хочется
on that.
надеяться, что достигнутое нами
I would
понимание
like to hope that the
позволит
agreement that we've
приблизиться к той
reached together
цели
will
и
help
откроет
us
дорогу
bring
к миру
closer
на
that goal and
Украине.
will pave
Мы
the
рассчитываем,
path
что в
towards peace
Киеве
in
и
Ukraine.
европейских
We
столицах
expect that Kiev and
воспримут
European
все это в
capitals will
конструктивном
perceive
ключе
that
и не станут
constructively
чинить
and that
никаких
they won't throw
препятствий.
a wrench
Не
in the
будут
works.
предпринимать
They
попыток
will
за
not
счет
make any
провокаций или
attempts
закулисных интриг
to use some
сорвать
backroom dealings to
намечающийся
conduct
прогресс.
provocations to torpedo the nascent progress.
Кстати, с приходом новой администрации
Incidentally,
США
when the new
двусторонний
administration
товарооборот
came to
начал у нас
power,
повышаться.
bilateral
Все
trade
это
started to grow.
носит пока такой символический характер, но
It's
все-таки
still very
плюс
symbolic.
20%.
Still,
Я
we have
говорю о том, что у нас много
a growth of
интересных
20%. As I've
направлений
said, we have a lot
для
of
совместной
dimensions for
работы.
joint
Очевидно,
work.
что
It
российско-американское
is
деловое
clear that
и
US and
инвестиционное
Russian
партнерство имеет огромный
investment and business
потенциал. России и США
cooperation has
есть что
tremendous
предложить
potential.
друг другу в
Russia and the
торговле,
US can
энергетике,
offer each
цифровой
other so
сфере,
much in
высоких
trade,
технологиях и
digital, high
освоении
tech,
космоса.
and in
Актуальным
space
видится их
exploration.
взаимодействие в Арктике,
We see that
возобновление
Arctic
межрегиональных
cooperation
контактов,
is
в том
also
числе
very
между
possible,
нашим
and
Дальним
our
Востоком и
international
американским
context,
западным
for example,
побережьем.
between the Far East
В
of
общем,
Russia and the west
нашим
coast of the
странам
US.
важно и
Overall,
нужно
it's very important
перелистнуть
for our
страницу
countries to
и
turn the
вернуться к
page, to
сотрудничеству.
go back to
Символично,
cooperation.
что
It is
неподалеку
symbolic
на
that not
границе
far away from
России
here,
и
at
США,
the
как
border
я уже
between
говорил,
Russia and the
проходит
US,
так
there
называемая
is a
линия
so-called
перемены
international
дат,
date line.
где можно буквально перешагнуть
I think
из
you can step
вчера в
over
завтра.
literally from yesterday
И
into tomorrow.
надеюсь, что у нас так и
And I
получится
hope that we'll succeed in
в
that
политической сфере.
in
Я
political
хотел бы
sphere.
поблагодарить
I would
господина
like to
Трампа
thank
за
President
совместную
Trump
работу,
for our
за
joint work,
доброжелательный и доверительный
for the
тон бесед.
well-wishing and
Главное, что с
trustworthy
обеих
tone of
сторон
our
был настроен
conversation.
на
It's important that
результат.
both
Мы
sides
видим, что
are
президент США имеет
result-oriented, and we
четкое
see that the
представление
President
о
of the
том,
US
чего
has a
хочет
very clear
добиться,
idea of
искренне
what he would
заботится о
like to achieve.
процветании своей
He
страны
sincerely
и в то
cares
же
about
время
prosperity of his
проявляет
nation.
понимание наличию в России
Still he
своих
understands that
национальных интересов.
Russia has its own
Рассчитывает, что
national
сегодняшние
interests. I
договоренности
expect that
станут
today's
опорной
agreements
точкой
will
не
be
только для
the
решения
starting
украинской
point,
проблемы,
not
но
only
и
for the
положит
solution of
начало
the Ukrainian
восстановлению
issue,
деловых,
but also will help
прагматичных
us bring
отношений
back
между
business-like
Россией
and
и
pragmatic
США. Ну и
relations
в
between Russia
завершение
and the US.
хотел бы вот что
And in the
добавить.
end, I would like to
Я
add
помню,
one
что
more
в
thing. I'd like to
2022
remind you that
году
in
во время
2022,
последних контактов с
during the
прежней
last
администрацией я
contact
тогда
with the previous
пытался
administration,
убедить
I tried to
своего
convince
прежнего американского
my
коллегу в
previous
том, что
American colleague
не нужно доводить до
that
ситуации
the situation should not be
после наступления, которые могут наступить
brought to
тяжелые
the point
последствия в виде
of no
боевых
return
действий.
when it would come
И
to
прямо сказал
hostilities.
тогда,
And I
что
said
это
it quite
большая
directly back
ошибка.
then that it's a big
И
mistake.
вот сегодня мы слышим, когда президент Трамп
Today,
говорит,
when
что если бы
President
я
Trump
был
saying that
президентом, то войны
if he
бы
was
не
the
было.
president back then, there will be
Я
no
думаю,
war.
что так бы
And I'm
на самом деле
quite sure that it would
случилось. Я
indeed be so.
подтверждаю
I
это,
can confirm that.
потому что в целом у
I
нас
think that
с
overall,
президентом Трампом
me and President
наладился
Trump
очень хороший
have built a very
деловой и
good
доверительный
business-like and
контакт.
trustworthy
И
contact.
у меня есть все основания
And I have
полагать, что
every
двигаясь
reason
по
to
этому
believe that
пути, мы
moving
можем
down this path,
дойти и до,
we can
и чем
come,
быстрее, тем лучше,
and the sooner
до
the better,
завершения конфликта
to the
в
end
Украине.
of the conflict
Благодарю
in
вас
Ukraine.
за
Thank you.
внимание.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. That was very profound. And I will say that I believe we had a very productive meeting. There were many, many points that we agreed on. Most of them, I would say, a couple of big ones that we haven't quite gotten there, but we've made some headway. So there's no deal until there's a deal. I will call up NATO in a little while. I will call up the various people that I think are appropriate. And I'll, of course, call up President Zelensky and tell him about today's meeting. It's ultimately up to them. They're going to have to agree with what Marco and Steve and some of the great people from the Trump administration who've come here, Scott and John Radcliffe. Thank you very much. But we have some of our really great leaders. They've been doing a phenomenal job. We also have some tremendous Russian business representatives here. And I think, you know, everybody wants to deal with us. We've become the hottest country anywhere in the world in a very short period of time. And we look forward to that. We look forward to dealing. We're going to try and get this over with. We really made some great progress today. I've always had a fantastic relationship with President Putin, with Vladimir. We had many tough meetings, good meetings. We were interfered with by the Russia hoax that made it a little bit tougher to deal with, but he understood it. I think he's probably seen things like that during the course of his career. He's seen it all. But we had to put up with the Russia hoax. He knew it was a hoax, and I knew it was a hoax. But what was done was very criminal. But it made it harder for us to deal as a country in terms of the business and all of the things that we'd like to have dealt with. But we'll have a good chance when this is over. So just to put it very quickly, I'm going to start making a few phone calls and tell them what happened. But we had an extremely productive meeting, and many points were agreed to. There are just a very few that are left. Some are not that significant. One is probably the most significant, but we have a very good chance of getting there. We didn't get there, but we have a very good chance of getting there. I would like to thank President Putin and his entire team, who I know in many cases, other than that, whose faces I get to see all the time in the newspapers. You're almost as famous as the boss, but especially this one right over here. But we had some good meetings over the years, right? Good productive meetings over the years, and we hope to have that in the future. But let's do the most productive one right now. We're going to stop really 5, 6, 7,000, thousands of people a week from being killed, and President Putin wants to see that as much as I do. So, again, Mr. President, I'd like to thank you very much, and we'll speak to you very soon, and probably see you again very soon. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Next time in Moscow.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't know. I'll get a little heat on that one, but I could see it possibly happening. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Thank you.
And thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
At some point, being scrappy turned into being self-destructive. Every time something slipped, an email, a meeting, a follow-up, I blamed myself. Too disorganized, not focused enough, and bad at time management. But the truth, I was just one person trying to do 10 jobs. Then I stopped pretending I could do it all.
Please, thank you.
They are moving the pool. They're rushing the pool out. I'll apologize to the advocates because I can see them all moving.
Down. Down.
Яка буду